Hello, I'm Simulated Deck and welcome back to Simulated Deck Train Sim World. Today we're going to learn how to drive the Class 700 at the Training Academy.
In this training module, you'll be learning how to drive this Class 700/0 electric multiple unit. When you're ready to begin, climb aboard.
So, as usual, it assumes that you've never driven a train before in Train Sim World. So what we're going to do, we're going to go for a walk on the outside and have a proper look at it. We did have a look at the previous episode, but we only walked along the side. We didn't actually walk through it as well. So this is a Thameslink 700 electric multiple unit. There are several different versions out there with some different operators and some different models. But basically the 700 class is what I would like to personally call the baseline, and then you got your variants and sub variants apart from that with different operators. We did see a couple of different variants that aren't modelled exactly with different liveries. We can see some exterior cameras. Very simple, basically white colour scheme with the logos on the outside. So we're at the Training Academy, and note here on the side destination screen and also on the front it says to check the station screens because it doesn't know where we are. So I can't remember if it was this one or not that actually had internal announcements as well, but I guess over this episode we'll find out. So the intention is to go towards the end of the train, go for a complete walk through it, and then complete the tutorial. For some reason, and I don't really care, but it is annoying, I seem to have lost all my progress in relation to from when I started Train Sim World originally. Know what level I'm on, but really that doesn't bother me. I just want to get in, I just want to drive the train. That's all I want to do. I don't want to necessarily, oh, today I'm level 35 on this and I'm level 1 on that. A lot of the time I'll just drive the train a couple of times and then go on to another route and then maybe drive it a little bit down the track, who knows. Or if a new route that comes out. And now that there's free roam, so you can basically drive the train anywhere you want, that will be a lot better. So we're coming up to the last carriage, and there is a first class section that we'll walk through. So basically 165 meters long. We'll go inside and we'll walk our way through. So here we are at this end with lots of various screens, and we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at that when we get to the other end. The RLU8 reminds the driver that this is an 8-car unit, a reduced length unit of 8 cars. I think they come as 10s and 12s from memory. So we'll have a look and we'll get set up at the other end, but totally set up for single person operation. with various safety systems and whatnot set up. And well, we got some door controls, I think. Whoops. That's what I meant to do. Alright, so we'll go through and we'll have a look. So, this is the first class section. So, interior screens telling us to check the station screens because, again, it doesn't know where we are. Various safety information above the doors, including emergency evacuation if required. So this is the first class section. Would look similar to other trains that we've been on recently. Interestingly, that's an open door rather than like a more traditional door rather than a sliding door. So a cycle storage area that could also be used for people using wheelchairs, etc. Fire extinguisher in the open, accessible to passengers as well, which is debatable. We have a toilet that includes a baby change table, and I'm pretty sure we can't get into there. Now I'm not seeing a lot of difference between first and standard, with the exception of the with the door. So you can walk through the entire train, with the famous or the infamous, more to the point, the ironing board seats. And you can see here the curve that we're on as we concertina around. The sign pointing us towards the fully accessible toilet. So this would be the main area used for people with disabilities because they've got direct access to the fully accessible toilet. And some luggage space around as well. A nice wide aisle, 2x2 seating. As we go around the pole, some more luggage space. Interestingly, a litter bin, which I thought might have had all sorts of different security concerns, but here we are. So there's nothing in that carriage number that indicates to me that we're in a 700 class, as far as I'm concerned, which is interesting. You'd expect the carriage number to start with a 7, or at least I would have thought so. But again, here we are. It's an emergency equipment cupboard. I was wondering what this was, but it's an emergency equipment cupboard. Which is some distance away from the driving compartment. And I've only seen, that I can remember, I've only seen one of those. CCTV cameras, internal emergency door releases, that sort of thing, standard. So we've got another toilet with a baby change table It's not the fully accessible one. There's one of these at the other end that we've passed with the addition of the fully accessible toilet in the middle. And then we're coming up to first class just behind the driver's cab at this end. So 2x2 seating. Not sure if the seats are any more comfortable or not, apart from the there are some tables here though. And we can go this way and we can access the door. Turn our HUD back on. And we're in the train.
Sit in the driver's seat.
Alright, I'll just close that door. Sit in the driver's seat. Alright.
The Class 700 is part of Siemens Mobility's DeZero family. 115 train sets were built for use on the Thameslink network between 2014 and 2018. They began testing in 2015 and entered service in 2016.
Alright.
The 60 8-car and 55 12-car units more than doubled the capacity of the Thameslink fleet. This 8-car unit can carry up to 1,146 passengers.
Okay.
Set the master key to on to activate the cab.
Alright. Control W. Alright, now, pardon me, now we've got some screens. Let's have a look at some screens. So this would be our main TMS, I'm gathering, which shows your braking effort, your regen braking, your tractive effort, what the line voltage is. In this case, 750 volts. So maybe it's variable. Because there's a screen for different different voltages for your different electrical systems. Door controls, we may not be able to activate that yet. Master key on. So the master key's now out. Master key back on.
Ensure the reverser is in the neutral position while you set up the cab. Set the headlights to indicate that this train is operational.
Alright. Reverser in neutral, which is where we are. The exterior lights to daylight. Alright, so your exterior light goes to marker daylight. There we go.
Open the passenger doors to allow boarding.
Alright, our passenger doors are here. So if we go outside, we can see, we zoom around the trees.
The aluminium body of the Class 700 helps it to be 25% lighter than the stock it replaced, as well as being up to 50% more energy efficient. Close the doors before departure.
So interestingly though, we haven't raised the pantographs yet. Are we third rail probably? There's been no mention of the overhead wires at this point. So we'll go back in the cab and we'll close the doors. Presumably in real life the screens would be here for the doors. Close our doors.
The reverser controls the direction of travel. Now we're ready to depart. Set it to the forward position.
Alright, so reverser into forward.
This train features a combined power and brake handle. To release the brakes and apply power, pull the handle towards you.
So fairly standard for a modern unit. The combined power brake controller, we have to reach 30 miles an hour or 48 kilometres an hour. So needless to say, we haven't got our safety systems
Now
on.
you've built up some speed, you can return the power handle to the off position to begin coasting.
So we've done that.
Coasting is a method used to efficiently maintain speed and reduce motor stress and maintenance requirements. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of brake force by moving the power handle into the braking range.
So,
The Class 700 can be powered by either 25 kilovolt catenary or 750 volt third rail and is capable of speeds up to 100 miles per hour.
okay, that's cool. So then we go sing the Max Power song. We hear the horn.
You're approaching the station.
Already?
Begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the power handle away from you into the braking range.
Alright, there's the station. Coming to about 37 miles an hour, which is pretty hot considering how close to the station we were. We're in full braking now. And we've actually come in pretty good.
Nice job. The train has safely come to a stop. You can now use the door control to open the passenger doors.
Alright, so passenger doors open.
Close the doors and drive to the next stop unguided.
Alright, so we'll close our doors. Now I believe we'll check that in the next episode, or the next part when we go on the main line, but apparently we can actually use basics of the digital train radio. So we'll just come up to speed and we'll do a full lap and then we'll come and stop again at the station. So all the safety systems have been turned off at the moment. We're running on the third rail. Now just having a look on the right hand side of the desk, there's an AC mode which would be for your overhead, an auto mode which I presume, as the name would suggest, is what you think it would be, and a DC mode for when you're using third rail. So we haven't had any instruction yet on how to actually use that. So we'll start to shut off now. You can hear the click. Station about 300 metres away. So this is the actual station they want to. Oh, hang on. Yes, it is. It's a long platform. I'm thinking, is that the station they want us to stop at? But it's a super long platform because you've got you got your longer trains as well. So this is the station they would like us to stop at, which we've done.
Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train.
Very basic indeed. So we'll continue. Oh, our next scenario. Zorro City showers. So let's have a look at that and see what we have to do. Apparently there's a really good one where one of the trains has failed, so you end up taking a really long train. And then you divide it again and take some into the depot. So we'll have a look at that in due course, but we'll just wait for this new scenario to load. So if you've driven, by the looks of this, if you've driven some of the other more modern electric multiple units from the UK, if you've driven those recently, you'll be able to cope with driving the 700 by the looks of it. So what I'd be interested to see, depending on where we go, of course, if that screen on the left-hand side with the braking power and whatnot, if that actually changes when we go into the section switching between the overhead and the third rail. Probably more to the point when you're switching from third rail to overhead wiring. Are we actually loading? Are we actually doing anything? Or are we just sitting here? I'm not exactly sure at this point. It just looks like we're still at the task. Still looks like we're at the station. Oh yes, we are running. I think. Normally there's like a loading screen or something like that. I've told the scenario that I want to start. So you got the normal windscreen washer controls, windscreen heater. Then in some places you'd call it a mister. And then your standard desk light, driver reminder advice. Now the one behind the red, driver reminder advice, or DRA, the one which is interesting to me, which I wish I'd have access to in the real world, is being able to switch the screens. So the screen on the left that we can see is basically your TMS, your train management system. That's what it's usually called, depending on how the system's set up, train management system, that sort of thing. So with the screens, it's got multiple buttons that you can use to go onto various pages, and we'll explore those. Then the screen immediately ahead of you is the speedo and different modes for ETCS, in some areas known as automatic train control or automatic train protection. The European Controlled Train System, I think, is ECTS. And so depending on what mode of ECTS it is, you're either operating as per normal with signals, and there's no supervision of the driver at all, which would be level 0. Then level 1, where you've got some supervision of the driver in relation to speeds, but you've also got trackside signals, which is level 1. Level 2 is more supervision of the driver and no line signals, so in-cab signalling. So that's level 2. I can't recall what level 3 is, but I believe level 4 is basically automatic operation. So I don't know if we are actually, if I need to reload, which may be the case. So I've had to go back to the loading screen. So we've got different scenarios. One scenario is the Zyro City on test, which is to run the first test train from Dartford to Gillingham Depot and then back to Dartford. Takes about an hour 30. Desiro City shortened, meaning that there's engineering works or track work at Rochester, with a reduced service terminating at Strood. That's an hour 20. The next one is during a day of weather-related delays, take your train from Raynham to Gravesend, where you'll be relieved before relieving another driver on a late running return service to Raynham. So that's basically a return trip from Raynham to Gravesend and back. Desiro City shattered A stranded train at Gravesend needs to be pulled back to Rochester sidings for maintenance. Desiro City skip. Issues at Faversham, of course, delays, meaning some trains will skip intermediate stops. Desiro City delays. An increased number of freight trains on the route means an increased number of adverse signals for drivers to deal with. And the Desiro City showers. Prepare and wash this early morning train service before running to Raynham. So let's just do the first one. So this is actually a test train. Goes for an hour 30, so we'll see. And it's a pretty good one to start with, actually, because we haven't driven the train in service. We're on Southeastern high speed. So we'll see what they want from us. Welcome to Dartford. Ahead of the new Thameslink service starting in Medway, you will perform a test run from Dartford to Gillingham and back. Set the master key to on. See, I don't know why we'd be loading passengers on a test run. I don't get it. Let's get out of the seat and we'll set some of these safety systems up. AWS set to normal. Emergency brake loop isolation is normal. ATA we can't touch by the looks of it. Vigilance will turn that on. Driver safety device isolated, will unisolate that. We'll set the DRA set to normal. The door key switch is off. Cab lighting is on. Automatic selected door operation. We can't do anything about. TIS we can't do anything about. Won't be worrying about the doors at this point. From here we'll do that on the train. On the cab, your power brake control isolation is normal. TPS temporary isolation. We'll isolate that. I can hear a we'll get in the seat. I can't see where the seat is at this point. Oh, it's over there. Alright, so we'll unlock the doors, although I don't think that's
TPWS and AWS operational.
okay, so they've replicated the sunflower. We'll close the doors. Alright, doors closed. And now we start the power. But for some reason we weren't actually set up in full service. Reverser is in forward. So we went into emergency for our own amusement, clearly. See if we can have a look at some of the screens. We may not be able to use many, or if not all of them. that again. Straight back into emergency. And we're starting to move. Now we didn't set and now I can't see anything because I don't have any. Oh, our exterior lights are on apparently. So there's the, oh, we're speeding because of course we are. So Stone Crossing's our next stop in about a mile and a half. So the AWS is on. So what that basically means is if I'm approaching a restricted aspect signal, i.e. one that isn't green, I will get a warning tone that I'll have to acknowledge. And it will remind me that I've got a restricted signal coming up. But when we hear that chime, we know that we've got a full clear signal or a green signal that we've just passed, and so we're all good. Now I don't know any of the speeds, and it's been a long time since we've actually driven on Southeastern high speed. Another clear signal coming up. Now the ETCS should be telling us what the actual speed is. Not 100% sure at this point. We have to stop very shortly, so I'll just get straight into the braking zone. In about 800 yards. Got a couple of green signals coming up that we can see, but what a trap could be is that you've got a green signal coming up, you hear the chime for the advanced warning system to say, hey, you've got a green signal coming up, but what that will actually do is to possibly lull you in a false sense of security. Like now, I could say, oh, sweet, I've got a green signal ahead while I'm going to power up and let's begin. But we actually don't have, but we've got a station to deal with. So I don't understand. Now that's interesting. I've got some trains that we saw on the last episode where I've modified, some of the skins. And one of those just went past, and half of it was the mock London Underground Class 465, and the other half was the mock London Overground Class 465. So I didn't think that the modified units would actually come up unless I told them that they were going to come up, but here we are. So we'll go back in the cab. I'm trying to show you a mixture of inside and outside. Alright, so we'll close the doors. I realised the images would come up here. Alright, so off we go again. Level crossing coming up, so a bit of horn, even though it's the middle of the night. Supposed to be crossing, I believe. Now, if we were quote-unquote testing as per the scenario, yes, we'd be stopping, but we wouldn't necessarily be opening and closing the doors. So my apologies, you can't see a lot while we're at the stations. While we're not at the stations either, while we're in between. Another green light coming up, another green signal, there it is. 600 yards. Now, I'm not super used to working in yards and miles compared to metres and kilometres. And not being in the UK, there's the start of the station. Oh, we're in emergency. Oops, gone into emergency again. There's no real... Yeah, okay. No, I haven't finished my stop yet. I'm not at that marker, I don't think. See, I can't even though I haven't opened the doors. Yeah, well, actually, this is a test. I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't modify the automatic selective door opening. So that indicates me that that's failed because we're off the back of the platform. We've undershot because we went into emergency. Those doors, if the ASDO was set up correctly, those doors would not be opened. So we'll close the doors. Unless you're actually, especially using a controller, unless you're actually looking at the screen and you hear that thud, that click when it goes into the off position or neutral, it can be very difficult to know when you're in full service compared to if you're in emergency. Swanscombe next stop 1.3 miles. Tunnel. Green signal coming up, 0.9 miles. As I've said before, if you've been a regular viewer, in real life you would know where your braking points are. Just wouldn't be a case of C station, brake for station. Although that, in some instances, depending on how you've been taught, is totally valid. In reality, that bridge could be a braking marker. This signal may be a braking marker, and you want something that stands out in all weathers, because sometimes if you're looking for, and this can happen, sometimes there's not a lot out there on the approach to the station, so it might be the house with the green roof, or the multicoloured roof, or a particular when you see a particular street off to the side, that's your braking point, possibly, depending on where you are. But you want something that can stand out in most weather conditions. So that's where something like a bridge or a signal may be a better Alright, so we'll open our doors. that's the front. That's the back. That's the cab. We'll zoom in. Oh, here we go. Here's our overground 465, and will be attached. No, it's attached to the southwestern one now. What I should possibly have on my screen. But I don't know if I can do it. I should have a graphic illustration of the doors. I don't know if I can use... I don't know if I can use these different screens. Oh, hang on. Maybe we can. So this will indicate our tractive effort on this screen, and we're off. Now it's interesting to see on the screen, on the left-hand screen, the date and time is actually showing a date in 2019. Got another train heading in our direction, seemingly. And there it is. It's a freighter. Oh, now this is deceptive. I'm still braking at the start of the station because of how far. Now I'm going to go over here for sure, because I wasn't keeping an eye on how far I was actually away from the station. Alright, now I'm a bit out of practice here. Now what would be interesting to see if we're actually got any part of the train on the platform at all. We'll go into our cab. Whoops. We should be braking. And oh, we do have a little bit of the train on. You know, the back carriage in a bit, but if we have a look at our front carriage, those doors are definitely open. So if we can go, we should be able to click on each of these icons, especially the one with the doors. That gives us the graphic. I don't even know if we're in AC/DC, or I will just put AC/DC mode. So we should have regen on. This gets that 20 mile an hour and then it seemingly dies. We definitely need to do a scenario that's in the daytime. Okay, station's 1.5 miles away. I've got no idea what the actual track speed is. I just... vigilance. 1.3 miles, clear signal coming up ahead. Signal coming up. Station coming up anyway. Now the signal's changed so it's clear, so the sunflower goes away. Once we hit the marker, because it recognised that the and I've got braked way too early. .6 miles. Station coming up. 30 mile an hour board, which we're coming down to. So it could be tempting to power up here because you hear the chime for the, especially if you are alternating between skip stopping and express. Skip stopping and all stations rather. Alright, so now if we unlock our doors here. We wouldn't have to be in train config. Our train config works. So train config works. That's like an overview screen, I'm guessing. That's probably to switch the overhead voltages. Can't see why I can't see my passenger screen. Oh, okay, so what happens is, by the looks of this, oops, doesn't help if I drop the controller. And now I've got no idea exactly where I am because I dropped the controller. So for the DMI, which is the driver machine interface, also known in other places as HMI, the human machine interface. So if I put it in auto, the ETCS and the AWS is on the two screens. If I go to the left, everything's on the left-hand screen. If I go auto, they're together. If I go right, everything's to the right, so everything's on the one screen. I was hoping I'd be able to switch it over with the TMS, but they are on different screens. Now, I'm not concerned about late running because we're a test train. Sign lighting on, cab main lighting on. Maid drum, I don't like the look of that. Battery on. Passenger alarm, lamp test. Door key switch on. So I wonder now. I need to sit back in the seat, which probably helps. Now that we've done that, can we open that screen? No, we can't. Close the doors. Do we get this in the max power song? We do. So now that's on one screen. So your sunflower and your speedo appears on the one screen. Now I probably haven't set up ETCS and I don't know if it's supposed to be set up. As we saw with the tutorial, it was very, very basic and did not explain half the things that you need. Okay, we're only in the 30 zone, so we'll shut off. It didn't explain half the things that it needed to. It basically just does a little bit to be able to get you to Alright, so we're off the 30 now, so we can power up. Just under 4 miles to go. We've driven 7 miles in the class 700. So the mode that I'm driving in at the moment is very handy if you have, because they're two separate screens. So if one screen fails, you can switch over to the other one. Not have any lack of functionality. So how fast are we actually going? We're going 58. We can go 70. But again, we're in testing mode. I don't see why we're stopping at all stations. I don't. And if maybe Train Sim World 4 can't cope with stopping at stations but not opening the doors, I don't know. But in a normal testing environment, you'd either be stopping at the stations and not opening the doors, stopping the train, opening the doors, but you have ways of stopping the passengers from actually getting on, protective coverings and whatnot. So we're doing about 70 miles an hour, which from memory is about 110 kilometres an hour, which is pretty average for this sort of train. We're just coasting at the moment, so 1.7 miles to go, so it's just a matter of me judging when's an appropriate time to start to brake for the station. So we're 1.2 miles away. But what you'd also have in testing mode, especially when, as far as I'm concerned, testing mode should equal no passengers no matter what. So you'd be testing things like coming into a station and braking really hard, and you have set parameters to go, well, okay, at this speed it should take you this long to brake. So they'd have points worked out where they'd say, okay, I want you to brake now, and then you should be stopped at the next point of a freighter. You should be stopped at that particular point, and if it doesn't, well, obviously questions will be asked to, why not? Doors. Also, normally you wouldn't be driving with the cab light on, but also in real life you'd know where everything is. Daylight, marker only, taillight's off. So night light is the best one, surprisingly. So we'll wait for the doors to close and we'll actually show you taking off, and that really weird UFO sound some people have described it as. But we are going to have to finish with a daytime scenario. If for the only reason, why are my interior passenger lights on? Oh, we're in a tunnel at the moment, which doesn't help. But when we get out, I'm going to have to check to see if I've even, because sometimes when they start you up automatically, they leave you in a state where you don't even have your interior lights on. So that's a desk light. Spot on. That could be a more realistic mode. What mode was that? Cab lighting spot on compared to the whole cab lit up. So your main areas are lit up, but not necessarily the whole area, which isn't a bad compromise. So we've got a restrictive signal coming up. Sunflower's on. station. Stop Strood, they're long platforms because they also take cars such as the Javelin or train driver such as the Javelin. Open our doors, and then we'll have a look outside. I'm pretty sure, no, we haven't got our train lights on, so we'll fix that now, hopefully. I did see over here, I think. Sign lighting, there we go. Saloon lighting on. So another easy way for us to check. No, our train lights are still off. Cab main lighting is just for the cab. We'll get back in the seat. We'll go into neutral for a moment because I want to find out. Alright. So these are all driver safety systems over here, so nothing to do with lighting. Over here, so we'll go battery on, saloon lighting, which should have fixed it. So no. Oh, our information screens are working. So we've got 3 stops to go. Our passenger lights are in complete darkness. Oh, that's our side door. So we'll close that. Close our door. We'll see what lighting controls we've got over here. Power supply on. Got our usual horn.
Television and remote video monitoring is in use at this station for your personal safety and security.
We got an intercom. Turn their power supply to on. Nothing over there. Right, so it's got nothing to do with it. Snow brake mode. Configuration confirmed. Depot warning horn. Sounds more like an underground horn to me. Now, there may even be a step that we're missing because the tutorial was hopeless. That's still in darkness. So we've got our battery on. We know our cab lighting works. So oh, okay, they just turned on then when I took the guard's key switch out. That's interesting. Doors are closed. We've got our lighting on in our passenger area now. Need to put the reverser back into forward. And then off we go. So now when we leave here, we'll be able to hear the UFO. Slow speed out of here. By the looks. See, now that we've shut off, now I can see we've got passenger lights on. So if I start to power, the UFO starts to come back because of the noise of the motors. And then I shut off, and there we go. Alright. So Rochester's not far away. It's only like 900 yards now. It's only slow speed over this bridge. So what we will do after this, we'll do a very short daytime scenario, because apart from anything else, I want you to see out the front window. I want to see out the front window, and I want something that's not in the dark for my episode art. So we can certainly see that our lights are on now. We don't have to wait anymore because we're late, to the surprise of no one. Stop at Chatham, which is our next stop. That's under a mile away, so it's not very far at all. Sometimes the stations are that close. If you're in a straight enough line between the two stations, you could actually see one station from the next. Oh, that's a bridge, not the actual platform. Slow bridge. So 30 mph speed board, but you got to wait for the whole train to pass it. Tunnel. So I'm guessing that the station's not too far away. Station's not too far away. Oops, a bit too early. And even in the real world, this sometimes can happen if you're in a new train. You know what you're doing, but some trains break differently than others, especially if you're going out of a very old train into a very new train. Left inside. Let's get out of the seat for a moment. Have a look now at the passenger information screens. Now that we're actually here. This is Chatham. And close the doors. Gillingham next. It's 1.4 miles away. So my biggest issue is that it's at night. I don't know where I am because I don't know where I am in game anyway. And it's harder at night than what it is in the middle of the day. I don't know the speeds. And I should point out, sometimes too in testing, if you have the right authorizations, you can actually go above the normal track speed. But that's part of the testing process that will be specifically managed for that purpose. So we've got a restrictive signal coming up because we're coming into Gillingham. So that could mean we're approaching a signal at stop, but in this case could even be possibly a turnout. So we'll just crawl into here. We're not running that late considering. So a single yellow. One advantage about driving at night is you can usually see the signals from further off. Then again, you also have to be aware in multi-line situations of which signal's yours and which isn't, especially if you're running under restrictive aspects. So we're basically running 5 minutes late, which under the circumstances isn't too bad at all. So signal stop at the end of the platform, hence the and that will do us nicely. Unlock the doors, let everybody out. Yeah, definitely want a daytime shot for my album art. Unlock the doors. And that should complete our scenario. Oh, we're going to the depot. And I should. Oh, have I got that signal? So we've got a shunting signal here. So that signal's not for me. Oh, I'm pretty sure this is the level crossing. With the gates, yes it is. So can't believe that signal let us go all the way here with no other signals. Low speed into the depot. Surprisingly 15 miles an hour. There's another freighter waiting for us to go in. I can hear the diesel loco. Shut this cab and change ends. Rightio. So taillights, power handle into full service. Reverser to neutral. Key out. Change ends. This is where it's good, where it's a fully enclosed. Oh, we're going back to Dartford. Oh, we're not stopping all stations again, are we? Yeah, I think we are. And you know what? I'm not going to. Because I've been driving for an hour 22 already. So we will have a look at his passenger information screen. It's telling us that Gillingham's next, then Chatham, then Rochester, and then on to our destination of Dartford. So it's telling us that it's 20 past midnight. This train terminates at Dartford. It's the 4th of April 2019. This train terminates at Dartford. Calling at Gillingham, Cheltenham, Rochester, Strood, Higham, Gravesend, Northfleet, Swanscombe, Green Heights, Stone Crossing and Dartford. So I'm not going to subject you to that. I'm not going to subject me to that. In the dark, stopping at all stations on a supposedly test train. I've been simulated, Irk. You've been wonderful. We'll do a daytime scenario next time. Thanks for watching and bye for now.